Put that up. Right, there's a banner. Right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So, where do you start? Welcome to the Celtic Way post-match reaction to Atletico Madrid 6, Celtic 0. Dyson Maeda sent off. Same old story again in the Champions League. A mauling in the Metropolitano. That's at the hands of Atletico Madrid. That's all we can really say about it. Thank you for joining us, putting yourself through some sort of post-mortem that myself, Haggerty 10 on the Twitter handle. I'm Tony Haggerty, as you all know, and I'm joined by Ryan McGinlay at the Ryan McGinlay on the Twitter handle. Guys, a chastening, sobering, embarrassing, humiliating experience. But before we do that, have to big up our sponsors as we do. And the Celtic Way briefings are brought to you by MPH Group, and they are Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialists covering all of mainland Scotland. And every service you opt for automatically enters you into MPH's incredible holiday giveaway, and you could win a 7-night stay at the luxurious 5-star Moon Palace Resort in Cancun, Mexico. And winter's rolling in, and if you're thinking of giving your home heating system a boost, MPH has an enticing Navien Boiler Winter Promotion just for you. You can see at the top of the screen there. When you opt for a Navien boiler installation through MPH Boilers, not only are you choosing top-tier efficiency, but you're also getting a free Navien Internet Controller. And this little gadget can crank up your boiler's efficiency to an impressive 98%. And the cherry on top of that is that they're covering the first year service with no added cost. And if you're wondering why Navien, well, they're gunning for the Product of the Year at the H&V News Awards, and that's the Oscars of the heating world. And to top it all off, the Navien ON range comes with a 12-year parts and labour warranty, which is some serious peace of mind right there. So a big shout out to MPH as well, because they're nominated for the Small Company of the Year at the same awards. Excellence recognises excellence, right? So MP also covers offers flexible finance options. So gear up for a chill and consider making a smart move with MPH and Navien, and you will find all the links to MPH's social media sites and telephone number in the description of this video. And we say thank you to them for sponsoring the Celtic Way briefings. Ryan, that's probably more than what can be said about the game tonight. Just started badly, and just it was the old Baldrick's German Guns poem, isn't it? And Blackadder's assessment of it. It started badly, tailed off towards the middle, and the least said about the ending, the better.
Thought for the first 5 minutes before the opening goal, Celtic actually started the game pretty well, all things considered. Start as you mean to go on, and Celtic always have this mistake, this self-destruct button that seems to happen, especially away from home, although it has been creeping into the home form as well in the Champions League and in Europe in general. The self-destruct button happened again. 2 mistakes that lead to the opening goal. Joe Hart punches an easy cross. Jan Oblak will be catching them in his sleep at the other end of the pitch. Instead, he decides to go and do what can only be described as a Superman punch, trying to fist the ball out. It manages to go out for a throw-in. From then on, the play progresses. Callum McGregor has one of the laziest headers I think I've ever seen him attempt, that goes straight to the one man who does not need any second invitation to strike a ball in Antoine Griezmann. As it goes on later on tonight, there's more of their players that don't need a second invitation to strike the ball, because everything they touched seemed to go in the back of Joe Hart's net. Those 2 mistakes. Now, I know Celtic are sometimes not good enough to come up against these teams in Europe, but you cannot legislate for these poor errors that are happening every single time they play in Europe. You know, they shoot themselves in the foot every single time. And I know that we'll go into the Dyson Maeda challenge, which, you know, is contentious to say the very least, I would say. I think it's and Brendan Rodgers has came out and spoke about it being like a video game. You know, it's up in the air. I can see why he's been sent off. I don't think it's a sending off, but I can see why. Why is his foot in that position? But it all started with that first goal. They started well for the first 5 minutes, but the self-destruct button came at 5 minutes. Who had 5 minutes in the self-destruct bingo for Celtic in the Champions League tonight? If you got 5 or 6 minutes, then you were tonight's winner, because it just seems to happen again and again and again. It's the definition of insanity, doing the same things over and over again. Players making mistakes, and when it's your captain, you've got absolutely no chance in the game, unfortunately. So it was over before it even started, really.
Yep. I had lots of comments coming in. 130 people joining us. Yep. Putting yourself through it. So we thank you very much for that. So I'll read some comments out, Ryan, shall I? First up, Plunge McNugget, cheers, Plunge. Embarrassment, sick, fed up with the same old story. Alexander Bigre saying, how can Celtic compete at this level? Smell the glove saying, surely this isn't coming as a shock result. It's been happening for years.
No shock whatsoever. I'm just tired of it, to be honest.
Yeah. Anthony Sermani saying, easy, stop buying rotten players. Stephen Donoghue, start with a dose of reality. The board have no ambition in anything other than getting the money for entry to the Champions League. That's a wider conversation. Stephen Donoghue, is it self-destruct or a lack of quality? And Beg was saying it wasn't a red card. That ruined everything. I say lots of comments coming in, people wanting their say. So, yeah, it's TJ Lindy saying Joe Hartstead ran to get the ball before it went out for the first goal. Markey saying playing Maeda was a mistake.
Nah, I don't agree with that, because he was Celtic's best attacker in the game despite going off with a red
Jerry
card.
Smith
He was
saying,
honestly Celtic's best attacking outlet until he gets sent off.
Jerry Smith saying Celtic were poor but diabolical refereeing again. Why does Celtic get second-rate referees? Stephen Ritchie saying never a red card. Celtic were the better team up until that point.
I'm
James
hoping that's what it means.
Genuine question. What does Celtic as a club do to rectify this? Brendan Ross said repeatedly wants more quality and reduction in the squad numbers to 25, over to the guys at the top table. I think that's exactly what it means. How long can they sit and preside over this and watch that? You know, it's the worst results since Brendan Rodgers' team got pummeled in Paris 7-1 2017 to Paris Saint-Germain. But there was just an air of inevitability about it, wasn't it? Once Maeda left the field, and never a red card, says Ian Roy, feels for Dyson Maeda, and Ryan Geddes saying VAR isn't even allowed to overturn a yellow card, call this crap out now. Language, Ryan, we shall try not to say words like that, but hey, there you go. I think tonight we can possibly get away with it because we're still a bit hurt from that and a bit shell-shocked.
I've got to be honest, hurt is not one of the words that I've got with regard to that game, because I mentally switched off after about the second goal.
I suppose.
The other goals just felt like I was, because you're sitting doing the instant analysis for the website, you're looking up, and every time it's an onslaught of attacking. It was the complete opposite as to what happened at the weekend. You know, you looked at that stat line at full time. What was it, 27-1 in terms of shots either way?
Do you know what? You said to me before you came on here, I can't remember any of the Atletico goals apart from Griezmann's kind of scissor kick or overhead kick type goal. I'm the same.
There was a couple of screamers in there as well.
It just becomes a blur, doesn't it? Yeah, the substitute when he came on curled the belter in, didn't he? Was it Brazilian?
Lilo or something?
He curled up.
I don't want to butcher his name, and I do apologise if I have butchered his name. I will go and Lino, he came on, and 6 minutes later or something, he scored. And Morata scored an absolute screamer as well.
But you're just like, wow, you know, just not so much hurt, but shell-shocked by it all, to be fair. You know, just feel punch drunk by that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm in a wee bit of a daze about it.
You
don't really know where to start with it. Because if people go back and watch the pre-match show, they'll see the optimism that me and you both had going into the game. It looks a bit silly now going back to it, but you know, that's the risk that you take when you put yourself on a platform and you speak about the football before it happens. Would it have been a 6-0 game if it was 11v11 on the park? I don't think so. But I think it's more psychologically than physically what happens when you go down to 10 men. Celtic just looked beaten. When that when that red card was given, Celtic looked absolutely beaten. The body language, they looked absolutely defeated, and then they did the worst possible thing. They conceded at the worst possible time in terms of the first half, which was the first half stoppage time. At least get your team in at half time, regroup, try and think of a different game plan, go to damage limitation. I don't know, try and maybe go for a draw. That 2-0, it effectively sealed. The game was probably over already, to be honest, but it was certainly over with that second goal. Where was Alistair Johnson? I don't really know with regard to that. I don't even know who it was who headed it to Murata, but it was a nice header to Murata. It was an easy finish. Joe Hart seems to jump and give the whole of the goal to Murata in the process. But I'm not going to point any fingers tonight because it's just a collective slump, isn't it?
Yeah, John Coletta coming in and says, feel sorry for the faithful fans who were over there. Feel sorry for them too. Spent a lot of money and, witnessed that performance. But yeah, it's difficult to analyse this and assess this just so soon after the event. But we do it, win, lose or draw, and we have lost heavily tonight in the Champions League. There's no other way you can dress that up. Scoreline says it all. Atletico Madrid 6, Celtic 0. Celtic fans have been in this movie before. Too many times, I think, for their liking. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's I think it's you're never immune to it. It's just becoming a wholly unenjoyable experience at times watching Celtic away in the Champions League. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Do you think that we should maybe open this post-match reaction into a wider discussion, or do you think we should keep that for the days ahead? I think it's sometimes better to talk about these things while the wounds are still open and you're willing to talk about it, because unfortunately, you can see results like this coming. In the reverse fixture, Celtic did so well to match up with Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid weren't at their best that night. They showed somewhat their best tonight, but they didn't have to be anywhere near the standard that they usually are to get those goals against Celtic. Celtic were like sitting ducks for a lot of that game. They were just lining up, and Atletico Madrid were only too happy to score goals. They didn't let up either. It was just like a consistent amount of goals that were happening. It seemed like a goal was coming every 5-10 minutes. I know it was 6-0, but it just felt every time that Atletico Madrid went up the park, it looked as if they were going to score, and it was a relief when that final whistle went. Honestly, that I've never been more delighted to hear a final whistle go than when it happened there, because it was the end to the suffering really of watching that game. That's the only way I can describe it. But Celtic have been set up for this, unfortunately. I don't really like going into big rants or that after a game, because emotions are high after a drubbing in and I was going to say the transfer window there. You can tell what I'm already going to speak about before I even get there. A drubbing in the Champions League, but I think it's a perfect time to look back and say, were Celtic adequately equipped for the Champions League?
No, they weren't. No. And the manager banged on about it from day one. He talked about his ambition was to be in Europe after Christmas with Celtic and bring in quality players. Now, and this was a board that took great delight in telling you they had surpluses of cash. So, you can't have it both ways. At what point do you speculate to accumulate? And I'm not saying be rash and reckless, but you bring in the players and equip yourself for this level. Well, the manager knows what's required at this level. He knows what he wants for this level. But again, and I hate using the word, but you're arming him with project players. The era of project players and young guys coming in that you hope you can sell on for vast profit has to stop, Ryan.
Yeah.
It has to stop now. It stops now.
Or at this level, it needs to stop.
Yeah,
I would say if you're going to bring in projects, then they have to be of the £5-6 million mark that are going to make a guaranteed difference at European level and basically run the Scottish Premiership as well. Yeah, you've got to get somebody that can do both now.
Because I don't think you can sit there. If you care about the club like you say you do, that's got to hurt you tonight. But they clearly don't care as much as you and I care. as much as the 241 people who are joining us live. Thanks, guys. We'll try and read your comments. These guys care. These are the ones that are hurting. These are the ones that have been spelling it out, saying this was coming. And you can't say it wasn't. You asked the question, were they properly equipped? No, they weren't properly equipped. But the first game papers over some cracks in terms of you do go toe to toe with them, and you're thinking okay, and then people upstairs thinking we aren't as bad as what people make out. The results, the points yielded weren't, in terms of performances, we hadn't got what they deserved tonight. There's just and the manager knows how to address this. He's been telling them, he's been signposting it. You get the feeling that he's competing with one arm tied behind his back. You can't do that to a manager like Brendan Rodgers. He's trying to help you, help your
They already
club.
have.
Well,
No,
that's what I mean.
they did it 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Fool me once, that kind of stuff. But I feel for him having to come out and try and justify that and defend that, and then he's focused in on VAR and the decision to send Maida off, saying it's a computer game, and VAR is stripping your enjoyment of the game, but it doesn't really matter. Well, we spoke about the dark arts and all that, and if you can't beat them, join them. None of the dark arts, gamesmanship, or win at all cost mentality would have helped Celtic tonight. They've just got infinitely better players, more quality players, and that all comes down to your recruitment in the summer, doesn't it? And the manager came in and there was a wave of real optimism because the way he spoke about attacking this competition, and you were thinking, great, and you were thinking they were going to, and I'm not saying, spend willy-nilly, but you definitely thought that the 9 million spent on Edouard would be matched, possibly a double-figure £1 million player, which never duly arrived. You started to worry. There was goalkeepers that you thought they might have been in for as well. For succession planning for Joe Hart, never arrived. And, and you just got that kind of bad vibe. And we're as optimistic as the next man, Ryan. And as you say, yeah, the pre-match show might seem stupid now, but no, you're trying to talk your team up, try to be as optimistic as you can. And that's just been smashed to smithereens again after tonight. And there is more questions than answers now, isn't there? Basically.
Yeah, I just think, and I've hated, that's one of the things that I've truly hated this season, is this roller coaster of emotion from, not from everybody, but you hear a sizable amount of it online from people that go from the highest high to the lowest low in 2 different games. But I think it's justified tonight, to be honest. I think everybody has a right to be really, really disappointed by tonight, and disappointed at the domino effect that has led to tonight. I don't think Celtic should now. I know that it's a different level that Celtic are playing at, but Celtic should not be getting beat 6-0 to a team.
But yeah, do you know why, Ryan? Because we've been in this movie before. You can maybe accept a one-off if you get scalped and you put it down to a bad day at the office. But this is, collectively in Europe for the best part of what? 10 years?
10 years, and the game has changed. Yes,
yeah.
there is a lot more money in football, but
With the
Celtic
odd-
haven't changed with the times either,
odd
and that's
blip.
the problem.
Yeah, the odd blip where they actually got a result, no Lazio away, that kind of thing. If you're taking it back 10 years, then you're obviously Barcelona as well at home, which is just over 10 years, 11 years. So you
Don't want to remember the 7th of November anymore, I think.
Yeah, you're correct. So this isn't something that, as I say, you don't want to build up an immunity to getting a hiding in Europe, but it's been pretty frequent in the past decade or so, hasn't it? It doesn't surprise you. And the minute Maida went off, you just sort of thought, it's going to be a long night. How many is it going to be? Can we keep this down? Damage limitation stuff. And even then, the damage limitation, they still ship 3 and 4 goals at a time. So I just, it's painful to watch it's certainly not enjoyable. Nobody likes seeing their team getting scudded 6-0 in Europe. And it's all right saying, "Oh, we can't compete. We don't have the players. We don't have the money." But you have to spend your money that you do have wisely and
Celtic do have money.
and fashion a team. That's what I mean. So if you can't compete now when they're telling you there are surpluses of cash there, when are you going to compete? What's the ambition here? You have to ask the Celtic hierarchy, genuinely, what is the ambition? Yep, you've been the victim of a terrible VAR decision and all that, but even allowing for that, if it stayed at 11v11, might have been a closer game. Celtic would still have got beat tonight. They're a quality team. Excuse me, with quality players. The manager
They
is seeking
definitely showed
quality
that as
players.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, and they ably demonstrated that tonight. So, but the manager's been banging on about that since day one, since he came in. And, you just have to say, from the summer recruitment, you did feel the worst. All the people that said when the draw was made that Celtic will be lucky to get 2 or 3 points, they're the ones that will be laughing as well and saying, "Told you so." And that's fine. They're entitled to their opinion and they're entitled to be a wee bit smug. You try and be as positive as you can and look at it. But I mean, I looked at the group and I thought Celtic could be fiercely competitive in it. But after the kind of inertia in the summer transfer window, I was a wee bit more sceptical about it. But you would never write their chances off completely, But tonight's just a sobering reality check.
You can. I think there's multiple factors at play here. Now, look,
Yeah,
the stats will tell you one thing. Look at Celtic's disciplinary record in this Champions League group. They've got 3 red cards
yeah.
in the group. That's just not, you're not going to win games. You're not going to get points if you don't have 11 men on the pitch. Celtic are already having to climb a mountain to level with these teams 11v11. Celtic give themselves absolutely no chance when they allow themselves to get caught up in these moments. Now, Celtic have got to, and players individually, now, I think it's a bad decision to bring off Maeda or to send him off, but he's got to be smarter in that situation. And he's let that lack of, I'm not going to say lack of intelligence, but lack of streetwise. He did it against Hibs last season as well, where he gets himself involved in challenges that he doesn't have to make. I realise that he's going for the ball, but you give the referee a decision to make when your leg is that high. I don't think it's a red card because by watching the freeze frames, everything looks worse. But the Atletico Madrid player kicks Maeda before Maeda makes the contact on him.
What did we speak about before the game? Streetwise, be cute, right? You give a referee a decision to make. There is no doubt about it that there was a heavy influence by the Atletico Madrid players.
Look at the
Diego
two players.
Simeone, yeah.
Look at that. Did you see the two players after that? It was a
Yes.
50-50 between the two. Dyson Maeda's trying to get up and try and continue to play the football. Is it Hermoso? Hermoso is rolling all over, and all the players have surrounded the referee.
And there's 7 Atletico Madrid players surrounded the ref. Diego Simeone is sprinting down the trackside, to berate the official. They're all waving imaginary red cards, because the referee.
All 7 of them should have got a booking.
Yeah, but the referee saw it in real time and administered a just punishment, I thought, which was a yellow card. But that influence to bear, and they've been doing it for 50 years, more than 50 years. It's the same kind of thing they did in 74, that intimidation and pressurising the officials. It works for them. But again, you go back to Dyson Maeda, the still that it shows you, that's the worst possible moment when the foot looks to be high. It's not malicious, to be fair, but he has caught him in the shin. And he's given the guy, you run the risk, of course, right? And in Europe, referees are very hit and miss. So, I wasn't surprised when that got overturned. When I saw it at first, I was like, oh, I thought, good, he's got away with it. I thought, might have got away with one there. But then when the Furore kicked off, I was like, nah, they're going to reverse this, And as soon as he said he was going to the screen, I knew it was coming. And then you knew it was coming after that in terms of a long night, so it's we keep talking about the same things. As you say, that's 3 red cards in 4 matches in the Champions League, not giving yourself a chance to set up to win a football match, and not giving yourself a chance to sit in and win a football match away from home. Sorry, Tony, but that's just an excuse in the same instant McGregor followed the ref up to the screen chatting in his ear. Well, I'm not making an excuse. I'm saying that the talking about the conduct of the Atletico Madrid players, they were instrumental in getting Maida sent off. That's what I'm talking about. You'll need to come back in Rebel 95 and say sorry, but that's just an excuse. I don't understand that part of the comment, to be honest. So come back in and let me know.
Well, the thing that annoys me though, and this is where Celtic could possibly learn on the job, there is a studs up challenge on Kyogo. It happens a couple of minutes later. There's hardly any Celtic players that remonstrate with the referee or ask about the referee to check that. You've got to learn on the job. I'm sorry, if you can't beat them, then join them in that situation. Celtic have got to wise up. And it probably extends to Kyogo as well, who's probably helping people up as well. I think the time for being nice and being... You can be professional on a pitch. I totally agree with that. And I think that football should be played in the right way. But sometimes you've just got to fight fire with fire. And Celtic
if you're coming up
over
against a team, if you're coming up against a team who you know are practitioners of the dark arts and are masters at it, then you have to go toe-to-toe with them on that front. When Maida went down, and it was definitely a free kick. They even had a potential penalty check. Celtic should have been surrounding them and saying, "Listen, it's a foul at best," and it was a foul because he was fouled, but nobody bothered, did they? It was just kind of accepted. You're not going to have many chances to put pressure on Atletico Madrid in that sense, in that territory. So they really are. Saying Mike Nolan coming in, practitioners. They are practitioners of the dark arts.
That's great use of English from you, Tony. I love that.
That's what I said. They are practitioners of the dark arts. They know what to do. Call it. That win at all cost mentality. Some clubs can do it, other clubs don't. And yet, VAR might be ruining it as a spectacle, but the minute Dyson Maida goes into that challenge, and I don't think it's a sending off. The referee saw it in real time and saw what he saw and booked him, which I thought was a just punishment.
That's the consistency, this comment as well. Palmer was booked for questioning a foul.
Oh, correct. And 7 of them surrounded him at that incident, and not one of them got a yellow card. Palmer's now out of the Lazio game.
Good, so, you can get a rest.
There
is nothing to play for in Europe for Celtic. As much as I know they can still qualify, etc., etc. Do you honestly think that Celtic are going to get anything from this group? Do you think they're going to get out of this group? No. I can't see it. I honestly cannot see it. So, you go back to that bread and butter phrase of the league, but it just seems as if Europe's just a wee sideshow that happens for 6 games before, Celtic are playing for the Scottish Cup in the domestic league. It's just very, very disappointing, and it's quite scunning, to be honest, going through the same thing year upon year upon year, having the same results, sometimes even worse results. It was tonight was worse than them getting beat. What was it, 5-1 off of Real Madrid in the Bernabeu, because you know that Real Madrid are littered with top talent. So are Atletico Madrid, but Real Madrid are actually a really good, solid team as well that could win the competition. I don't think that Atletico Madrid will win this one. Not to have any sour grapes or anything about the team that we're playing against. They are a good team, but Celtic made them look a lot better. Like they made them look... I don't want to sound like sour grapes here, to be honest. You know what I mean?
But I know you're saying that the kind of Champions League campaigns lost. There's still 2 games, Ryan, 6 points to play for. So I want Celtic to go for it as much as they can in those 2 games and see what they get from the group. I don't want to end the group with 1 point, So I get that it's looks like a forlorn task, but you've still got 2 games to give your all against top level opposition and see where the chips fall on that, So I never want them to throw the towel in on anything. I'd rather finish the group with 7 points. If you finish bottom and 7 points, so be it. But I want 7 points regardless. I don't want to end the group stages with 1 point. I have to be upfront about that. And I know you're kind of like, fair enough, it's over. Yeah, maybe so, but you're still a Celtic team competing.
I know.
There's pride and there's money. You get X amount of euros for every point you pick up. And wins are vital. They bring more cash into the coffers as well. So even for that alone, you could add to your transfer budget and maybe bring in those quality players that the manager's banging on about, because it's high time they released some funds for them. And January will be interesting in terms of what they do. Yeah, some CB or things coming. I can cost 7 points. Yeah. I mean that's what they've got to go for now. So and they might be out the Champions League, but we'll take what we can from the remaining 2 fixtures, and I'd like to take 6 points from those fixtures if they can. But I know there's a trip to Rome. Sammy's in between. Well, that's the next one, isn't it? So, but yeah.
It feels a bit weird to me that Celtic still have a chance of qualifying from this group. Maybe I was a wee bit too hasty in what I was saying, but it just feels like a really really impossible situation for Celtic. When you lose 3 games and only draw 1 in your opening 4 games, that is not form that deserves to continue on in Europe. As much as I would like to see Celtic continue on in Europe beyond Christmas, there would have to be a monumental turnaround and a monumental collapse from Feyenoord as well. Stranger things have happened, but
I still feel that if Celtic could get third and get into the Europa League, that they could do a bit of damage in that, Ryan. So it's like, because I think they could be certainly competitive in that arena, the Europa League. So, but it was a tough group. Nobody was under any illusions about that. And there's no excuses for tonight. I think the circumstances surrounding the red card and the VAR and the official who has forum with Celtic, by the way.
This the Virgil van Dijk one?
Ivan, yes. Ivan the Terrible, as I've called him at one point. The Virgil van Dijk, San Siro, 1-0. Celtic lose 4-3 in aggregate after 3 each draw. Europa League 2015. And I think Celtic actually get a disciplinary charge flung at them as well, because they had 5 players or more booked, like 5 players, and Van Dijk sent off, so they get a bit of a UEFA rap for that as well. So, so it seems that his standards haven't improved either, so, but listen, I'm not, he wasn't to blame for Celtic's defeat tonight. Celtic would have gotten beat even if they'd kept 11 on the park, but it certainly didn't help, did it? Let's be honest.
I mean, the thing is, you don't even know how the game would have panned out, because it was 10v11 for so long in the game. They probably would have went and won by a few goals. They've got the firepower to do so. I just think the personnel in some areas, I'm not gonna get in and talk about specific individual players too much, but we have spoke about, and we've spoke about at good length, the need for a number 6 in Europe is very, very great, especially for a team like Celtic. There needs to be a player just beyond the centre backs that can clear up fires and put out fires before they've even happened, with regard to the defensive positions that the players find themselves in when an attacker's coming through. If a defensive midfielder can sort that, then it means that those two aren't exposed. Unfortunately, in Callum McGregor, if you want, you can push him further up the field, because he is a good attacking player. Although we haven't seen that in a couple of years in a Celtic shirt. In terms of European competition, there needs to be a formidable player in there, in between where Callum McGregor is and where the centre backs are. There needs to be somebody in the middle. If you're going to play Callum McGregor in Europe, he's got to play further forward, and there needs to be a destroyer in there. It's But the thing is, Celtic have signed Iwata and Kwon. One of them hasn't even made any professional minutes since he signed for the club. There was no point in that signing. Why are we signing a player to get a wage and Celtic aren't even playing him at all? They don't even trust him to play in league games. And then Iwata gets...
That's for people higher up the Celtic food chain to answer these questions, isn't it? Because right now, you just... the summer transfer window has been laid bare in all its glory tonight, splendour and glory, for want of a better expression. But that's what happens when you don't. JP Boy, you'll never take points, lads, when you can't do the basics properly. The stats don't lie. Celtic are not equipped to deal with the Champions League. Totally humble tonight. The red card aside, schoolboy defending and poor decision making by individuals will always cost you. Celtic are being sent to war armed with a water pistol. I totally agree with that. But it's not the first time you've said that, is it? About Celtic in the Champions League. When are they going to arm themselves with the right tools? When are they going to do the basics right? When are they going to be equipped to deal with this level of football and not bump their gums about trying to compete at this level? Everybody knows it's hard, but I look around tonight, Shakhtar have beaten Barcelona.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
1-0,
It
right?
can be done.
It can be done. So this woe is me attitude at times, we don't have the finance to compete, yada yada. I just when I see results like that, like Shakhtar's, more and more frustrates me. Frustrates the absolute life out of me, to be honest, because it can be done. It's about bringing the right players in, and the players are there. I think John Hartson was alluding to that in his commentary as well. It's about scoping better players. I hate the phrase project players, but I said it earlier, the era of project players ends now. You go and get oven-ready first-team players, guys that will make a difference, and you have to spend money to do that. Don't bump your gums about how much money or surplus money you've got in the bank or whatever. Go and get the players, as you say, that will enable others to do the job that they're in the team to do. Callum McGregor being one of them. But I also thought that you mentioned it as well as a lazy headers, but culpable for the first goal.
It's the worst I've seen him in a long, long time.
Yeah,
and I watched him at the start of the season when his form was iffy. That was really bad from McGregor.
Can't legislate for a deflection, but Antoine Griezmann's hitting that on target, every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. So you know where it's going the minute it falls to him in that situation. So you're in trouble there. But, lots of basic things. Joe Hart could have came and touched the ball. Clutched the ball.
And he had loads of good saves after that.
The second phase of play, they got the throw in from it. Scott Dougal, Tony Irvine, players, you say, how do you attract them to the SB? Yeah, I know that's a hard sell, but next year, if you win the title, you're talking about 8 to 10 Champions League matches. You're going to have to attract them by saying, listen, you're going to play 8, but you could help us play 10 games in the Champions League if they get to the next part of that. And 6 games is a tough sell, but players will come. Just depends how you pitch it to them. I think myself and Ryan will go on those missions and pitch it to them, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing with Shakhtar as well, just going back to the Shakhtar point, Shakhtar Donetsk, we know where they're from. They're going through a crisis just now with regard to their home country, and yet they're still getting good results in Europe. They're playing, I think they still are playing in Poland as well. They're not using any of that as an excuse whatsoever. They're still bringing in good talent. They'll be playing away from Ukraine, obviously, but to get a 1-0 win against Barcelona, yes, they were at home. I know they'll be playing in Poland still, but to get that 1-0 win against Barcelona shows that it can be done. I just think there needs to be a mentality shift. Celtic need to speculate to accumulate. That was the phrase that I was using in almost every briefing in the summer. Speculate to accumulate, bring in the best possible players, and you will make that money back in terms of profit, because if they're good players, then they'll get better at Celtic, and then the Celtic name should mean that they are worth more and more.
If you can't trust this manager to bring in quality, then who are you going to trust? You can't trust this manager to spend the surplus of money that you made a big deal about telling people you had, who are you going to trust? So they have to turn around and say to Brendan Rodgers at some point now, in January or in next summer, what do you need? What do you want? And let's not kid yourself. You're now in a dogfight for the title. You've got a rejuvenated team on the other side of the city who are gunning for you. And, so you have to bear that in mind as well. It's not a given. I know that Celtic are 8 points clear at the top of the Premiership right now. But, you results like this can be demoralising. So you just hope that it's not. It doesn't have any adverse effect moving forward. But mark my words, you're in a fight for the title now. It's not a given that Celtic are going to be in the Champions League next season. You're going to have to earn the right to to retain your title. So, so that's another consideration as well this season moving forward. But tonight it's you don't want to be too knee jerk or finger pointing, but you have to turn around and say the summer transfer window is where it's all it's unravelled because of that tonight, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It directly links back to that. You cannot get away from that.
It's and in some ways you don't want to say that, but you have to say it because you will have been praising players that have came in previous games in the Champions League, such as Luis Palma. He is a summer signing that has worked, but for the vast majority of the players that have came in, Bernardo was a bit anonymous tonight. It was difficult because they were down to 10 men, and he was trying to make things happen, but nothing really came off for him, unfortunately. But if you just go through it with a fine tooth, if you go through all those transfers and look at how many of them have had a sustained impact, there's not really many apart from Palma. I'm trying to think of some others. It's potential with some players. Holm is going to be a good player in a couple of years' time. Maybe he should be playing just now, but that's a debate for another day. You're looking at some of the players. Yang is starting to come onto a bit of a game, but he's not the finished article, not by a long shot. It'll be a couple of years before I think he's anywhere near that finished article level. Emergency signings like Nat Phillips, which just provides more of a headache because of Liam Scales' performances. You get Nawrowski, who's been injured, obviously. Lager Bielka, who can't get a game. Be interesting. Penny for the thoughts of him that's sitting on the bench, can't get into the team. You could go through all of these transfers and see what ones have worked and what ones haven't. But the fact that you're scrambling to find like the standout one, apart from Luis Palma, is a bit concerning, because there should be players that you bring in the summer that automatically make your team better. You've got to be in a position where you make the team better than... You've got to finish the transfer window better, or in a better position than when you've started it. Have Celtic honestly improved since the summer, in your opinion? They've lost Jota, they lost Carl Starfelt at the back as well. I know Liam Scales has been so good in his place. Nawrowski looks like a good player, but are Celtic honestly stronger than what they were last season? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, you could argue that toss now, but I was actually seeing green shoots of recovery in terms of their Champions League performances. I thought they played in the first 3 games, they'd got gradually better. That's just been smacked out the park tonight, big time. Ryan McGinlay coming in and saying tonight's the same old, and we then talk about recruitment and transfer windows, same old horror story. I'm afraid that you can't escape that, and and that's what the galling thing is for me, Ryan. I was starting to see, and I was saying to hope Celtic put in a performance and at least show why they're on that stage on merit, and it's just all come crashing down round about them tonight, and you can make up excuses if you want, mitigating circumstances, yada yada yada, but I think it goes back to the summer, doesn't it? And the manager spelled it out. He wanted quality, not quantity, and he's desperate to trim that squad to around about 25. I think sees optimum number, isn't it? What have they got? 36, 32, something like that? I don't know. Round about that,
It's
wasn't it?
definitely more than 25. That is for sure more than what
Yeah,
he would want. I think there's
So
players in this. I think there's players he signed in the summer that he might get rid of in January. I'll be honest with you. It's that sort of way, and that might be through loans or permanence. I don't know, but there's some players that just aren't making an impact. Like I'm sorry to bring up Kwon again, but what was the point? We haven't even seen Tellio either. You know, he's been fit
yeah,
for weeks and he's not getting a game. So all of a sudden, you know, what was it? 2 million for Tellio, about 900,000 for Kwon. It's just under 3 million for two players that aren't contributing whatsoever. They haven't contributed a single minute. I know that Tellio has been injured, but Kwon hasn't. Kwon has hardly made any benches. You know, Tellio's only played in a testimonial game. It's pretty much it's a damning indictment for these players that were supposed to come in and make a difference. And especially with players being injured, you know, Tellio's got a chance. I know he's been injured himself, but with players like Abada injured, you know, people coming in and out of the team. But you don't want to harp on about these players for too long because you haven't seen anything of them. But you know, Brendan Rodgers sees these players in training, and obviously they're not up to the standard as of yet, which is a damning indictment, especially because you brought in an elite level manager that wants to improve players. If he can't see that these players can even be improved to put them in the starting lineup, then I think that's pretty much a damning indictment of the recruitment in the summer.
exactly. It just, as I say, it just all unravelled tonight. So there you go. It is what it is. Comments coming in.
I know what comment you're laughing at. Don't worry.
I don't understand it. So there
No.
you go. So I won't address it. So it's fine. Yeah, but what's that? 46 minutes. We've been going for 350 people coming on, joining us live. So thanks, guys. It's just we try and dissect this as logically and honestly and as possible. It's kind of hard when it's nights like tonight, but we don't shy away from it. Winners or draw, we're always on pre-match and post-match. So it's I don't know about you, but will you sleep tonight with that? Is that be still worrying about your head? That kind
Yeah,
of night, or is that just fake?
I'll sleep
You
quite. I'll
sleep,
be
yeah.
honest, I'll sleep quite soundly tonight. Because I just want to get away from thinking about Celtic for a bit. Now a day off always helps as well with regard to getting. I feel for you that you have to write more about it in the days ahead, but I'm sure I'll be back to. I'm just delighted. I don't need to do a stats bomb report because it would just be an Atletico Madrid piece. To be perfectly honest with you, it would just be a stats bomb repeat. It should be on like the Atletico way rather than the Celtic way because it's just all Atletico. It's the complete opposite of what happened at Dingwall on Saturday. You know, it was just not a very good watch, and I know we haven't really talked about any of the later goals because they all felt like just the one rolled into one. Unfortunately, it's
Indeed.
would you want us to say Griezmann was great? Of course he was great. He was up against 10 men. He's a great player. He's gonna if he smells blood, then he's gonna take it. He's just a consummate professional, to be honest with you. Morata's a good finisher sometimes. He seemed to be a good finisher tonight. Yeah, 10 men against Atletico Madrid in the Metropolitano. There's only going to be one result, unfortunately, and that is what happened. But, you know, I think there's wider issues that need to be addressed with regard to the recruitment. How you address them in January, I think it's near impossible just due to how difficult it is to get players in January. You're going to have to be looking at maybe different markets to bring in players, but yeah, it's there needs to be improvements made ahead of next season, but it just feels as if Celtic are going through this continual cycle over and over and over again. It's the same story, cut and paste at this time of year. You're just hoping that something changes next year, but you know we'll wait and see with regard to that.
Hazel Finn comes in. Come on, Tony and Ryan, chin up. Celtic move on. You've been going through this for more years than I care to remember. So have I. So yeah, indeed. It's time for that. You weren't around in the 90s chat, is it? That kind of stuff. Listen, we'll move on. You always move on because there's always the next game to move on, but you just kind of lick your wounds and take your dumps on the evening of sobering defeat like that. Atletico Madrid 6, Celtic 0. The reaction programme and over 300 people, up to about 350 people have joined us. So, as I say, we thank
Absolutely
you for that,
incredible.
guys. It's not been the best post-mortem or reaction to a Celtic result. We try, as always, to keep it, try and entertain you, but there's not much. Hazel Finn saying she's at least 10 years ahead of me. There you go. That gives you a rough idea of Hazel's age. Well, thank you for that, Hazel. Appreciate that. Yep. After midnight, I think some people do want to go to their beds, don't they, Ryan? You're one of them.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Yeah,
Scott,
but
you're going to say
we
thanks,
do we do
thanks
we
for the
do
show
thank him.
today. You look shattered, Ryan.
I'm naturally pale. This is what happens when a light is on me. But yeah, I'm tired as well, to be fair. But that's what results like that will do to you, as well as working through the day as well. But we endeavour to give you the best possible content that we can, as instant as we can, with regard
We
to the
try.
Q&As and the instant analysis. We'll always be here, win, lose or draw, because that's, you've got to be consistent. It's these results at the end of the day that make the victories all the more worth it when they do come along, and they will come along. You just have to wait a wee bit longer for them.
Neeps comes in and says, "Good show, guys. These ones, the late ones, are always the best." We'd argue with that tonight. Not the best, but hey, we're still here. Well done, guys, under the circumstances. Thank you, Hazel. Appreciate that. At least you never stop, Mark. He says. It doesn't feel like we stop, Mark, to be fair. It's Plunge McNugget coming in. We need an ambitious board, Celtic. Ambitious boards. Of course they do. That's exactly what they need. They need the board to empty the coffers in Brendan Rodgers'
Campbell, I just
general
want to bring this.
direction.
I want to
Go
bring
on.
this comment up. Campbell says, first tool required is raw speed. Who's the last signing with significant speed? The guy that gets sent off tonight for a start and dies in Maeda, unfortunately.
Yes, I suppose he has indeed. Listen, tomorrow it won't get any better, but I think we'll turn more attention to other areas tomorrow. But thanks, guys, for joining us. We genuinely appreciate it. It's very hard to dissect a 6-0 drubbing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's plenty to talk about with regard to the opposition, unfortunately. But yeah, very, very difficult to draw any positives. There's no positives, let's be honest.
None whatsoever.
The only positive is that the game is over and it can't get any worse. And we move on to the next game. Aberdeen will come thick and fast on Sunday. They've got a big game against PAOK in Greece, which, will be quite daunting for them as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the levels are on Sunday afternoon. I think Celtic will be hoping to get a wee bit of not revenge, because Aberdeen haven't inflicted that result on Celtic, but I think they'll be wanting to make themselves feel a wee bit better about proceedings ahead of the international break. If they can do that, then I think the support will be in a much better place.
Thanks for that, Ian. And I know you'd asked us to comment on another thing, a C word, cheats and all that, but these things are very hard to prove, Ian. So you open up a can of worms when you talk about that kind of thing, which is why we sort of said they're practitioners of dark arts. We leave you to connect the dots with that kind of stuff. But appreciate your comment, mate. That's very kind. Graham Caldwell coming in. Honest assessment from you both as always. Never shut from analysing the game or performance. Cheers, Graham. Appreciate that. I say we'll always be here. We'll always do that, and we'll try and be as honest as possible. It's what we do on the Celtic way. It's what we try and do. That's why we invite you guys to come in the comment section and add your own tuppence worth. And it's nights like tonight test you. Was it Fergus McCann said, being a Celtic supporter is never easy, but it's always worthwhile. Tonight's one of those ones where it's never easy. We wait for the worthwhile, don't we? But it always comes. So that's fair enough. Nights like this test you as well, as test your mettle as a supporter, and to come on here and talk about something like that, which deep down you're hurting. Your team's been hammered. You just don't like to see that, but you've always got to try and keep a level head on it, be dignified and honest, and as positive as you can be, if you can be. So
Yeah, I think it's best to just let's just lick our wounds and just
Indeed.
in the show, because we could go on speaking about it all night. To be perfectly honest with you, it's best to just nip it in the bud. Tomorrow or today is a new day. Basically, the game is yesterday, and we move on.
Correct. Exactly. Yes, that's exactly what we'll do. We'll move on to the Aberdeen game. Well, that's on Sunday, isn't it? We'll keep that in our thoughts. No doubt we'll dissect it more tomorrow. I've got that thankless task again, Ryan. You're on day off. Good day to be off, sir. That's what I say.
It's almost
But,
as if I've timed it perfectly, but yeah, we'll go with that.
But guys, if you like what we do, it's running along the start line at the bottom. Hit that subscribe button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. £4 for 4 months, or a yearly subscription for £18. That's a great deal. So hit the button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. And we also say thank you to our sponsor, MPH Group, and they are Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialist covering all of mainland Scotland. And every service you opt for automatically enters you into MPH's incredible holiday giveaway, and you could win a 7-night stay at the luxurious 5-star Moon Palace Resort in Cancun, Mexico. And winter's rolling in, and if you're thinking of giving your home heating system a boost, MPH have an enticing Navien Boiler Winter Promotion just for you. When you opt for a Navien boiler installation through MPH Boilers, not only are you choosing top-tier efficiency, but you're also getting a free Navien Internet Controller, and that little gadget can crank up your boiler's efficiency to an impressive 98%. And the cherry on top of that is that they're covering the first year service with no added costs. So if you're wondering why Navien, they're gunning for the product of the year at the H&V News Awards, which is the Oscars of the heating world. And to top it all off, the Navien ON range comes with a 12-year parts and labours warranty, which gives you some serious peace of mind right there. So a big shout out to MPH as they're nominated for the Small Company of the Year at the same awards. Excellence recognises excellence, and MPH even offer flexible finance options. So gear up for the winter chill and consider making a smart move with MPH and Navien, and you will find all the links to MPH social media sites and telephone number in the description of this video. And we say thank you to MPH Group for sponsoring the Celtic Way briefings. Ryan, I think that's us. Did the full shebang?
We certainly have. Yeah,
10 past
absolutely.
12.
And we really do appreciate everybody. We know that we're into the next day with regard to our coverage, but we really do appreciate everybody for joining the streams and for joining the streams both in the morning briefing, pre-match, post-match, and even if you're watching them after they've been recorded and on the website or on YouTube. We really, really do appreciate everybody tuning in. It's never ever taken for granted, and we appreciate everybody for subscribing. Please continue to do so both on YouTube and on the website at www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. And we'll endeavour to bring you the best Celtic-based journalism available on the internet. So, yeah, thanks, guys.
And I'll see you tomorrow about 10ish. Ryan, you enjoy your day off. All right, sir?
Certainly will.
Take care, guys. All the best.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.